All right, you will see my screen here in just a second. Oh, nope. All right, you should all see my screen now. It's just a PowerPoint slide at this point, but we're going to jump into Search Monster here in just a second. So as we just covered, questions at any point, just feel free to let us know. I'm happy to answer those as we go. With Search Monster, what we're going to do is really kind of cover an overview. As Jen mentioned earlier, this is kind of the first step, right? So we're going to take you all through Search Monster today. I'm going to really do a cover of everything. So you all know what's in there, what you can utilize, how it works, and so forth. And then from there, you know, as you start to dig into it yourselves, once you have access later today, I'm sure there'll be more questions. So we'll be able to, you know, handle those as time goes on as well. All right, so I am going to just change into Monster here. And hopefully you're all seeing my screen okay. And this is Search Monster. So when you do get your login today, as Jen mentioned, you're going to have your username and your password in that email. And when you come to Monster, it's a temporary password, so you can come in, you'll change your password. And then to get to Search Monster, you're going to come to the My Candidates section here, and you're going to come down to Search Monster.
Hey, Maggie, one thing, I don't know if you can magnify.
Yeah. Oh, let me see. Hold on. Let's see.
It's not bad. It's just a little blurry and small, but.
Oh, I wonder if it's because I'm on. Oh, here we go. Did that change anything? No.
No, but it's okay for now, I think.
Interesting. All right. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else.
Yeah, that's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right. So with Search Monster, when you first come in here, you're going to have, you know, your page is going to look almost identical to mine. You're going to have the search fields up at the top here. And you can go ahead and obviously start to enter your search. If any of you are sort of advanced with searching and know Boolean, you absolutely can go ahead and use that. You'll notice because we've got two different search types here. This one's Boolean. I'm not going to get into that today, but like I said, if any of you are advanced searchers, you can certainly use that. But we're going to take our time and go through semantic today, which really is just a very easy way to do a search. So I will talk you through that in a few minutes. And then down at the bottom, as you start to utilize the tool, you are going to have individual cards for all the searches that you do. So over time, you're going to see this obviously grow. And this way, if you need to get back into the search, you know, a week after you originally did it, or even, you know, a few months later, you've got the same position open again, you can come back to that same search and maybe make a couple slight tweaks to it if you need to, and run that search. So it's pretty easy to allow you to do that. There's different icons here that will allow you to do a few different things. We'll talk about this email performance in a little bit, but you've got one to copy a search, right? So you've got the same search, but maybe a different location or a slightly different skill sets needed. You can just make that copy and tweak it. You can archive a search. So think about this for searches that you want to keep, but you don't need to look at, you know, every time you come in here. So you can just click archive and it will go into the archive section, which is right here. And then you've also got a delete option. So some of them are going to have the delete search, and that would be a search that I just completely no longer needed. So if I was done with it, I can certainly just delete it and get rid of it. The reason why some of the searches do not have the delete icon is because they've had some email performance or analytics behind it, and that's what this little purple icon shows you. So we'll go into more detail about this, but that's the reason why you can't delete that. You can only archive it because, again, you kind of want to keep that for future reference. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a search. So I'm going to just pull up a search here, and I've got just a service technician that I was going to start off with today. And type that in, and you'll see I simply type in whatever that job title is. So whatever you're hiring for, type the job title in. You're going to get some suggestions that come up. Sometimes it might be a great match, and you're just going to select it. Other times, you know what, it may not be a perfect match, right? Which is fine. You don't have to select something from here. Just enter in whatever that kind of standard job title is. And then you can add in some skills and keywords, right? So if there was a specific program they needed to use or something that they had to have experience with, if I wanted to type in, forklifts, right? I can just type that in. And then of course you can add in your location. With the location, you can put in, whatever's appropriate, and then choose the radius around it. So depending on where you're at, you might find that that radius, you go down as far as like a 10-mile or 20-mile area around you, or you might even go farther, right? Just depending on that position. Obviously, people don't commute 100 miles, but if you kind of wanted to see what was out there and you were struggling to fill a particular role, sometimes just kind of seeing what else is a little bit further out can be helpful. So I'm just going to keep it at 30. That's sort of the standard, and I can go from there. There's other options for searching too in advanced options, and you'll see in here, I'll go through these over the course of the training today, but you'll see there's lots of different options that you can work through. So we'll run our search and we'll get our results back. So we got about 250 back. Again, it's going to depend on where you're at, what you're looking for. Sometimes you're going to see thousands of people come back. Sometimes you're going to see, a couple hundred. So it's going to depend, but keep an eye on those matches, because if you're getting thousands of people back, I definitely recommend putting in some more criteria. And that's where you can come over here on the left and add to your search criteria. So you've got in here the job title that we've already obviously entered in. We've got the skills and keywords, and we can just add more, right? In both of these cases, you can certainly add anything you might need to in. Anything that you put in here and you don't check off the required box is considered nice to have, right? So as I start to fill this out, I might think about specific searches, or specific skills that it'd be great if somebody had it, but if they don't have it, that's okay. I'm willing to, look at their resume or talk to them as well. So when you have a skill like that, for instance, maybe, I don't know if this is the best example, but like hydraulics. If you wanted to put hydraulics in, but it wasn't necessarily a requirement, let's say, you would just leave it unchecked. I could simply type it in and just not check it off as required. Then anyone that has this will come to the top of the list when my search results come back. As I said, we've got location in there. If any of you have more than one location that you ever recruit for, you can add in 2 locations at once too. So you can do more than that, but if that's ever a situation you come across, you have that option. And then you get down into some different options in here that you'll see. We'll talk about some of these as we're kind of getting through the searches. Work authorization. So you can use show all job seekers, which will bring back people regardless of their citizenship status. Okay. If you limit it to job seekers, then that's going to bring back people who are citizens, green card holders, permanent residents. So again, depending on what's appropriate, you'll just choose accordingly. Some of the other ones in here that are pretty straightforward, searching by company names. So many of you you've got, different, sometimes it's competitors, sometimes it's just other companies that have a similar hiring profile. So in those cases, you can also search by company names. So don't forget to use that, and you can put in lots of different company names. Just keep adding your lines as you want to put those in. You can exclude keywords. So if you find that particular search is bringing back results that aren't quite what you're looking for, you can always exclude people that might be coming back based on a job title or a particular skill. Things like education is in here as well, if that's applicable to any searches. Things like resume updated, how far back in the database you want to search. So you could do 3 months in the past, you could do up to 3 years in the past. So you've got options there. And then anything that you change, just click update and your results will update accordingly. All right, let's take a look. I don't see any questions coming in, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the resumes, and we'll kind of talk about those. The first one here, we can go through this particular job seeker, and when I click on it, I get their profile. So you can see here that I can see some skills that I entered in. I can even see all the other skills that they might have as well, or not that they might have, that they do have on their resume. And then I can see their experience. So this information is coming directly from their resume, and I can see exactly kind of what they've done in their work history. You can see things like education. You can see some other basic information that they may have filled out. Now, the reason why I'm kind of spending a minute or two on this is because, to Jen's point earlier, she was talking about how each dealership has their own set of views and what they can utilize. So I want to point out that anytime you look at the profile, it does not use any of your views. So I can look at this, say, yes, they might be a good fit, or maybe they're not, right? You know what? They're not quite the right fit. I'm just going to move on to the next person. So then I move on to Jimmy, and I can look at Jimmy's profile. The nice thing is I have not used any views at all yet. A view is not counted until you actually look at the resume, which would be right here.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry, my phone's talking to me. Or if you use one of the actions here. So things like forwarding a candidate, and we'll go through these, but downloading a resume, anything that would be you communicating with the job seeker.
So one thing, I just want to just point out something on this topic and ask a question tied to it. Up above in the right corner where it says set up campaign, it says 4406, and that's your view counter for the resumes and what's allocated?
Correct. This is what Jen mentioned before about having each dealership's going to have different numbers up here, but the number on the right, which in my case is 5,000, that's the total amount of views I have in my account. The number on the left is, 4406. That's what I currently have left. So when you utilize a view, it will decrement out of that, and you'll be able to see, what you've got left.
Yeah, and I just want to make a comment to this, so that as Monster's system, Hyster Yale's bought a certain amount of views for the entire network to use, and we've split them up to what we think per year would be the most, that you would be using. The one call out in the highlight here is, as you look through these profiles on the right-hand side, that should give you enough information to say, is this a viable candidate? And at that point, you're either going to view the full resume or reach out and make contact. So just, I don't want to get paranoid about it, but just keep an eye on that number of views. And again, the idea here is the profile should give you everything you need. If this is a viable candidate, please reach out to them, contact them, and use the view. I don't want you to ration them and think that you shouldn't be using them. Just wanted to highlight the difference. Unlimited profile views, and you'll have a certain number. I think most of them around 2,000 to 3,000 resume views that you'll see in there. So if you have any questions on that at any time, let us know as well.
And there's a question in the chat. There's a couple coming in, but there's one that kind of follows along the same lines about when did they last update their resume, and the person noticed that this one was over a year ago. And so that is where, so to the question here is, it's likely that they may not be as active of a job seeker. And that's true, they might be more passive. So if you want to make sure that you're looking at maybe more active seekers, you can come to Resume Updated, which is down towards the bottom, and you can change that date range. So you can either choose a predetermined date range, right? So you can do maybe like 3 months or 6 months, right? A little bit more active. Or you can even just pick your own date range. So you can come in here and put your own dates in there. So to the comment about that, absolutely, this will allow you to kind of change that date range.
Maggie, I'll jump on the second question. It asks, will the views be renewed? And yes, every year we kicked off this partnership in October. So every October, your view number will be replenished, identical to how it was, the first year for 3 consecutive years. We can take off offline, or the question in regards, can more be purchased? I think Hyster Yale Group will leave that up to the dealerships on their own if they want to purchase more views, and we can discuss, how that's handled moving forward if there is a need.
That's correct. Yep.
Perfect. The other thing that will help you with the views too is that as soon as, let's say Jimmy was a good fit. We wanted to take a look at Jimmy and, take a closer look at the resume. So in that case, if I went ahead and clicked on the resume, or like I said, if I tried to contact him, in some way, when I click on the resume, now I'll get that viewed icon. So it actually is going to say, hey, I viewed it. If I refresh my page, which I'm not going to do right at this moment, this would go down to 4405. But that viewed icon will let me know that I viewed it. And just so everybody knows, the viewed icon is going to stay there for 30 days. So let's say I look at Jimmy's resume and maybe I download the resume, right, or forward it to myself. And I contact Jimmy, but then I want to come back and do something else in the system with Jimmy. When I pull Jimmy back up, a couple days later or a week later, whatever the case is, and I look at Jimmy again, it's not going to use another view. So you've already used your view. That view is good for 30 days. And then when the 30 days is up, that viewed icon is going to come off Jimmy's resume. So you've got plenty of time to email Jimmy, download his resume, text him, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. Really anything that you want to do in that 30-day time frame. If you know too that you want to hang on to his resume, right? That maybe the hiring cycle is a little bit lower. You're kind of just sort of, keeping track of who might be a good fit. If that's ever a situation, keep in mind you can download the resume and hang on to it that way, but you can also put it into a folder within the Monster system. And by putting it in a folder, and I can create, a new one. By putting it in a folder, what I'm doing is I'm adding it to that folder so I can come back to it as often as I want to, and it won't charge me any additional views. So know that you can do that within the folders. And I'll show you where those sit in just a little bit. All right. Another quick thing, because we're looking at it here, is this activity icon. After I put Jimmy in a folder, I got this little icon here. I don't know if this ever happens in with your dealerships, but if there's ever a situation where maybe your areas overlap or anything like that, know that this activity icon, if you ever see it on a resume, click on it, because it's going to tell you if somebody else has actually already done something with this resume. And if they've already done something, then you don't have to waste any views clicking on the resume. So just kind of keep an eye out for that if you ever see it.
Hey, Maggie, something on what you just said, and I wanted to clarify, because some may be thinking it. We have dealers that may be competing with another dealer. It's only going to show activity within their dealership. If another dealer had reached out to that candidate, show that? Or
yes. Yeah, the way you're set up, it will only show within that dealership, not to the other dealers.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Also with the resumes, keep in mind that you'll always have an email address. Many times you do have a phone number, but it may not always be there. Some job seekers just don't include it. So, but at a minimum, you'll always see the email address. And then obviously the resume itself. When you're reaching out to the seekers or you're downloading the resume, forwarding the candidate, you've got those actions up here. These are all for the individual seeker. So in this case, Jimmy. Jimmy also, because he's given us his phone number, he opted into texting. So if you do want to text Jimmy, you can. Keep in mind the texting on your end is in platform. So if I send a text to Jimmy right now, Jimmy's going to get it. It's on his cell phone. He reads it. If he's interested, he can text you back. When he texts you back, it will come back into Monster. So this is a live message, so I can't send Jimmy anything. But I can come over here. This will show me all my text messages, regardless of search. And you'll see I've got one going with my own resume, and I can go ahead and text Jimmy back from here. So once Jimmy texts me, I can text him back again, and we can take it off of here as well, obviously over time, but I have that capability. You can email Jimmy too, so you can email from in here. Oops, maybe. There we go. From right within the system. And the nice thing about the emails in here is you've got an initial email, right? So that first email you're going to send to Jimmy. And then you've also got follow-up emails. Monster's built logic into the follow-up emails so that if you choose to use them, which we encourage you to because they're essentially free, when I send out the initial email to Jimmy, so if I was gonna, I can take something I've got, let's see what I've got in here, kind of play around with. Here's the email I'm looking for. And I've got lots saved in here. You won't have this many, but you can save them over time. We'll use this example. And I can put my email in there. And then at 5 days, I can also tell the system, use my email. And when it goes to use I don't think that's the same one, but when it goes to use my 5-day one, it's going to check and see, did Jimmy click on the links I had in my first one, or did he reply back? If he did, then Jimmy's not going to get the 5-day follow-up. But if he didn't, then he'll get that follow-up. So just like I have emails in here, you can save them as templates so that you can come in here and just kind of tweak it, right? So obviously this is not the appropriate email for this particular job, but I can easily change that, right? So I can come in here and I can say for our, service technician or whatever, position you are hiring for. And you can even add links. So if you've got that job up on your website, grab the link to the specific job and just link it right here. So you can just copy and paste it in. I'm going to make one up as we go. And then I just simply click OK. So now when the seeker gets it, they click on it, they view the job, and they can apply online. Or if your call to action is, you know what, I really just want them to email me back, then you should put that in there too. So you can go ahead and use whatever is appropriate, obviously within your job ad, or within your email, excuse me. And then once you're ready, you would just click send. So as long as your follow-up's the way you want it to be and your initial email's the way you want it to be, you're good to go. Mine's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to send it just so you kind of get a feel for the fact that it's been sent. But I can go ahead and send it out and it will go directly to Jimmy. And just so everyone knows, if you want Jimmy to write you back, right, and you kind of mentioned that in the email itself, when Jimmy replies to you, it's going to come into your Monster account, but it's also going to go to your inbox. So whatever email address is attached to your Monster account, which should be your, your company one, then what's going to happen is that you will see it in both places, and you can respond accordingly. Any questions? Let me just look real quick. I don't think there's anything in there. Okay. All right. The other piece to think about too is, as you're going through this, there might be multiple candidates that you want to reach out to, right? Maybe there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 that you want to reach out to. In that case, you can do the individual emails or texting like I showed you, but if you wanted to do a group email, you could. So you could come over here and select the people that you're interested in, right? Either individually or maybe you're choosing more than that. But I could select those 4 people and come up here and say send email. And now it's going to send it out to all 4 people at once. So keep that in mind. You can do up to 20 at a time, but as you go through. And notice I've got other actions up here too. So all I did was have to select somebody and they show up. Pretty straightforward. They're same actions essentially that are on the individual resume. All right. Now, I know since all of you are in dealerships, you probably have multiple hats that you're wearing. So one thing that can help you too as you're hiring is you've got notifications down here. So it might be kind of hard to see, but it's the lower left. And a notification is basically like a saved search or an agent. And what it will do is when I turn it on, it's going to let me know that the saved searches are now set to daily. And basically what it's going to do is each night, it's going to run your search for you. And if there's new matches that came in the last 24 hours, the system's going to send you an email, and that email will let you know that there's 1 new match or 10 new matches, right? Whatever the case might be. And then you can simply click on the link. It will bring you back to this page, essentially. And you'll see the new resumes that come in, and then you can filter through those new resumes to see if there's, any good matches for what you're hiring for. But again,
that's a really important piece to help them manage the flow. They don't have to come in here and do searches every day.
Mm-hmm.
When they get those emails, again, when it comes in, the notification, somebody new matched, is that a profile and they can look at that? Or is that a view? Again, could you talk about whether now that hits the system once they get those notifications that there's new matches?
Yes, good question. So what will happen is it's going to be an email that will have a link to, if there's only 1 resume, it's going to have a link to directly the resume. But opening that email, viewing that email will not count as any views. What will happen is the link will bring you to this page here. You'll log in if you're not already logged in, and then you'll click on the resume, right? So what will happen is, we'll use this first resume here as an example, is just like I'm pulling up here, you're going to pull up the profile first. You can look at it, so you're not utilizing a view yet, and make your determination. If you decide, yep, that's a resume that I want to pursue, then you can go ahead and click on the resume. But same rules apply. If you don't click on the resume, or you don't, use an action or anything like that, then it's not going to utilize a view. So you do still get that profile first. And then if you decide you want to look at them, you click on the resume. And then that will obviously deduct that view for you. And with these notifications too, you can have as many as you want. So if you've got, 20 searches running, you can have a notification on every search. And the system, I don't think I showed you this earlier, but the system will show you which ones have a notification with this little blue bell. So again, over time, you hire for the service technician and you realize you're still getting that email, just come in here, click on it, and then just turn it off. All right, questions on that? I don't think I see any in there. Okay. Last piece to talk about in here is the campaigns. So up in the upper right, there is a section called Setup Campaign. And what a campaign is, it's essentially an email blast. So it's very similar to the emails that you can send here, but you can send larger numbers. Now, with that being said, you do want to kind of be careful with these. They can be very, very helpful, but we also don't want you to, you know, quickly run through your views when that wasn't your intention, right? So basically, with an email blast, the idea is you can send out larger numbers of emails if you want to. But what this also does is you can send out smaller numbers and just automate it for yourself. So as an example, you'll notice at the top here, I've got some settings, and it's telling me I can send 1,000 emails per day, which is way too many emails, way more emails than I want to. And I can do that for up to 30 days. Now, if any of you decide you want to use this, a couple kind of best practices and suggestions. So first off, when it comes to how long you want that to run, you can certainly do 30 days, but I would, especially for your first one, sort of keep in mind, you know, how many emails do I really want to send? I mean, do all 250 of these people, are they people I want to send an email to? Probably not. You might want to send to, you know, a smaller number of that. Or maybe 250 is okay because you've got multiple positions open, right? So you could come in here and say, you know what, I'm going to send like 25 out a day. Maybe I'll have it run for a week, or maybe I'll even just have it run for 3 days. And then you can tell the system how many you want to send per day. So I can send as few as 25 per day using this. So if I wanted to do that, I certainly can. And then it's only going to send 25 per day. And I can turn it off at any time. Also, just so everyone knows, you're seeing 1,000 here. It's a training account. Your account is going to say 100 to start. Over time, you may see that number increase as you get some good responses to your emails, but know that it starts off at 100. And again, just to kind of be, as you're getting used to the system, I would recommend sending lower numbers because you also have to respond to those people that get back to you too. So it's helpful to keep it to a smaller number. And then lastly, you can exclude people. So, you know, again, if there was more than one of you that had access at your dealership, you could go ahead and say, anyone from my company is emailed, exclude any candidates, anyone from my company has emailed this in the last month. Again, so you're not duplicating efforts.
Hey, Maggie, one thing on that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the answer is going to be no in that list, but you have highlighted in green with the candidates how high of a match they are, what their score is.
Yes.
As you go down the list of the 250, I'm assuming the scores drop and they're not as strong of a match. Can you say, give me only people above a 75?
So you can't do that. However, there is one thing that you can do. If I said, you know, because I've had recruiters who said, you know what, sometimes the last couple pages, they're not quite the right fit, right? So what you could do is you could go to page 12 or page 11, and you could say, you know what, they're probably not the right fit, and I can select the whole page, and I can use this skip functionality. And if I skip them, they will not receive a campaign. So that is one way to do it as well. So you can have that option. And then the other thing too, as long as we're talking about here, kind of the reverse of that is, you know, anybody you really like. so the favorites, which we haven't talked too much about yet, but anyone that I favorited, let me just go back to page 1. Anyone that favorites, so that's the little star there, they will receive your campaign first. So that's another way to kind of say, hey, you know what, I'm only, you know, I could go through and find 25 people that I really like, and that email could go out the first, you know, to those 25 people. And then it is just kind of the same email that we saw before. Difference being is that it's a little bit more automated, again, to save you some time. So I would just come in, I would pick my email in here and go ahead and I have an old maintenance tech. I don't know if it's any good, but I've got a maintenance technician in here. I could use this and kind of just tweak it. And same thing, you know, add my links. Same thing for the follow-up messages. Just turn it on. And then I can send it out. Once the email, you know, whether you're doing individual email, whether you want to try out the campaigns, I just, you know, with the campaigns, make sure that you kind of keep it to those lower numbers, like I said, and make sure you don't have thousands of people coming back, right? So if you've got a position where you know that there's plenty of people out there, right? Some of your positions are going to be easier to hire for, some of them are going to be harder. The ones that are easy, where you're finding you're getting a lot of matches back, try to narrow it down a little bit. We usually say under 300 will be better, because it's going to be more niche, and that will help you, you know, make sure you're not sending it out to too many people that, you know, may not be quite the right fit, or maybe it's just more people than you need to send it out to. All right, questions? None at this point. All right. So the last thing just to mention here is that when you do send out emails, whether you're sending out one email, whether you're using, you know, the campaign feature, under performance here, it will show you how many were sent. Now, this is not correct data because I'm just in a training account, but once it goes out, you know, the system sends it out, you'll start to see, okay, how many were sent. And then it's going to start, as people start to open the emails, you'll see an open number, and then you'll see a click number. And the clicks will either be replies to your email, or, you know, a click on a link that you included into the email. So it will show you those options. So then you've got to get a feel for, you know, how people are responding to your email as well. And that also gives you a chance to tweak it for, you know, future reference if you find that some emails are getting, you know, better results than others. All right, that is, oh, actually, you know what? I told you I'd show you folders. So last thing to show you actually is the folders. So if you do decide to put any resumes into folders on Monster, just come up to My Candidates and Manage Candidates. There is a little shortcut over here, but you have to be in the search, obviously, to get to that shortcut. So if you're not in the search at the time, you can just come to My Candidates, Manage Candidates, and then that will bring you into your folders. Okay, so any folders you have, you'll see it right from here.
Hey, Maggie, you mentioned at the beginning this was searching Monster and military.com. I'm assuming that search you were doing hit both databases. Somebody tell whether somebody was in the military.com database?
Yeah, let me see if I got one in here. Yes, perfect. So Alan here. If you see, Alan's got two icons. So you see a lot of people seem to have diversity in the search. So diversity means that they have self-identified as a diverse candidate. Okay, so when you see that, that's what that means. And then the V is the veteran status. So again, these are people who are in, the military.com database, excuse me, and, have said, yes, I'm a veteran. So anytime you see that V, or you'll see the, the full veteran tag over here, that means that they are a veteran.
I will also add, Maggie, on the far left, where it says select candidate type, you'll see, it's hard to read, but it says limited search to just veteran candidates. Yep. So you could select just that ability, and then only anyone who is self-identified as a veteran would be pulled up.
One other option too is when you're in your skills and keywords, you can type in United States military. And what will happen is, I wouldn't make it required, I would just leave it as nice to have. But what will happen is that people who have that military service will come towards the top of your list. And then people who don't, obviously, will still come back, but they might be a little bit further down. But this is a way where if you, especially for certain jobs, if you're kind of targeting military people, you can use the one that Jen mentioned, which will only show you veterans. But if you want to kind of see them mixed in, you can just add this to your search as well. All right, questions?
I'm assuming that since we're not going to start this till the first quarter, that this kind of discussion or a hotline available for questions that come up between now and then might be available?
Yeah, Dave, this is not the talent network we're setting up. That starts in Q1. This is Monster's resume database, which was an add-on to the program that we had. What we're doing is giving everybody access to this as of today. So this is outside the talent network, but they can go in and start sourcing candidates once they get their ID in later today.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we at least had an initial training, recognizing we wanted you guys to understand that you had an unlimited amount of profiles to view, but a limited amount of views for your dealership. And then after this call, I will be connecting with our customer service team, who's been diligently adding all of the names into your own dealership, and we'll be sending out individual welcome letters. But Dave, I will be sending out a link. So just so you guys know, this was the first sort of kickoff training that we're doing, but Monster holds a weekly live free training session that you, your team, anyone within your dealership who has interests can sign up to attend. And then we also have like pre-recorded trainings that are available 24 hours a day. So if someone can't make a live training and they want to just listen to an overview of the database, that's available to you. But as of today, you guys will have access to log into the site.
Yeah, Jen, just the other piece, so everybody's aware, once we roll out the talent network, and the reason for the delay on that is that platform's actually being built. Okay? So once that's built, then the ability to post to that talent network and do other things, that's going to be available, and we'll have a training how to use that as well. But because everybody's in such a crunch for finding people, whether it's technicians or salespeople or parts people, whatever it is, we at least wanted to give you access to this. In the future, this will be integrated into your talent network recruiter office, so that's the place you do everything. So this is just step one. Okay.
Any other questions?
Jen, I guess one other thing: if somebody doesn't get an email by the end of today, do they contact you? Do they okay? If I think it's in the email, you want to just give your email address just as a backup?
Absolutely. I will send it over to everyone so that you guys had it, but if anyone's jotting it down, it's simply jennifer.masel, M-A-S-E-L, @monster.com, and I'm going to put it right here in the chat. But yes, I am the key contact for all of the dealerships. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I am happy to answer them. If there's no additional questions, I will stop the recording and I will give you guys a couple minutes back in your afternoon, and just look out for the invites as they will be coming out later today, and happy searching.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
dealerships.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi there.